Hello and welcome to Frozen Synapse 2 Dev Diary number 18. I'm Ian Hardingham, designer and lead programmer on Frozen Synapse 2, and this week we're going to look at some deployments, some very exciting features, some of the conversation dialogue, and a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about. So let's go. Okay, so we're going to start with a purely graphical effect. I've generally learnt in my many years of making video games that the important thing with games, or the kind of games that we're making anyway, is to make games that let you do things that you want to do. And spending too long worrying about the graphical or the graphical polishing or the kind of sensation stuff can lead you down the wrong path. Had a few problems with Frozen Cortex in association with that. It was very, very important to me that we got these amazing looking sort of outcomes, and they do look amazing, but they weren't that important to players. They weren't as important as some other things. Having said all of that, Frozen Synapse 2 is obviously a game that's overflowing with features. But every so often you need to put something in, spend some time implementing something which is graphical to enhance the feelings of what you're allowing people to do. So, as long-time viewers of these dev videos may or may not know, the levels that you get when you are playing on a Frozen Synapse 2 mission are really extremely highly correlated with the actual place in the city that you're seeing. So, if we play in this little building here, which we will do in a minute, you will be seeing this terrain. You'll be seeing these roads, you'll be seeing these buildings. They're the exact shape. They basically are a mission set there. A lot of times when you have something like this, like an overworld map like this, when you get to the missions, there's no particular geometrical relation between those missions and what you're seeing on the overworld level. That's not true here. Now, in our original Frozen Synapse 2 announcement video, we tried to show this. And it was a long time ago, and a lot of the generation assets weren't as good, but still, it just didn't come across at all. So basically, Paul sort of hammered me over the head and said, we've got to be able to zoom in from the city view to the mission view, because people just have to see that. It's a really important feature. It's taken me a lot of work to do properly. It is new, and it enhances the feeling of the city. It's really important that people who play this game feel like they're playing this cool surveillance, security, investigation stuff at the city, and it's really important. So eventually I caved, and I talked to our secondary programmer, James Urquhart, and I said, you need to make this happen. And he basically did, with a bit of input from me, but most of this was him behind the scenes allowing this to happen. So I've waffled for long enough. Let's see if we can see a city to mission transition in action. Okay, so we're going to run a test mission at this building. And what's going to happen is, you imagine that you've just sent your squad over to this building to attack it, and you click on the start mission button. So it's pushed the loading time here to with a view of the city. Obviously, we're going to be hoping to get this loading time down. That's like final optimization work. And here we go, zooming into the level. Now, I will do that a couple more times if I can, just to give you guys an idea of how it's working again. As we can see, we're starting to get some graphical glitches in there, and the camera's moved, but we'll try this one again, just so you can see it. Obviously, those of you who are really excited about this can slow down the video. I'm only kidding. So basically, we load all the mission assets behind this loading bar, and then all the mission assets are loaded basically and plonked down in the right kind of area, moved around and zoomed a bit. We fade them in and we come in. Now, as you can see, there are a couple of glitches. Those glitches will be fixed, I promise. Give me feedback as usual, but I'm really, really happy that we've got this effect in. I think it makes the whole thing feel a lot more integrated. And again, this was hard to do, and I'm really proud that I managed to do it. And I wanted to show the players that kind of stuff. So there you go. That's the mission transition. And in some ways, that's kind of the most boring thing I've been working on the last month. But I still think it's important. But let's get on to something else. Now, this past week, I finally put in one of the most exciting features for me of Frozen Synapse 2, and that is setting up your deployments at any building that you're in. We've got this entire game where everything is very meaningfully based on what's going on in the overworld, and you've got units in a building or on a road, and you want to be able to set up exactly how they're deployed in case they get attacked. So this is our base for today, and we are going to set up the deployments in our base. So we right click on there and we click on set up deployment here. Again, all those menus are really work in progress. So you load up the mission, and then you get a chance to decide where your people are going to be and what their plans are. Now, this has spawned a slightly funny looking building. You'll probably see some slightly new graphical effects. Rich is playing with the mission area at the moment, so he's been playing with this this red effect showing the edges of the mission environment. When you have an actual mission, I would expect more of these surrounding buildings to be actually in play, and I also agree that having a base which is 3 small rooms and a slight forest is a bit weird, but it's all work in progress, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's good enough for me to show you what you can do. So basically, it's all fairly self-explanatory. There are 6 units here right now. There are both the base defense squad that you start off with and your strike team. Next week, I'm going to be adding in the ability to name your units, and the unit name and the unit team will be shown down here, I think, or at least for now, above the previous unit, next unit thing. People like naming units, or they did in XCOM anyway. So basically, obviously the most basic level, you're just going to choose where your defensive guys are set up, where they're aiming and stuff, and that's all really cool. If you get attacked by another crew and their vehicle arrives around here, you want to be set up. A feature I don't have in just yet is that you'll be placing where your items are, because you have to store all of your money in a building in your base, and it can be stolen. A lot of this stuff is a lot more exciting in multiplayer City. So you choose where those are going to be. That feature's not quite in yet. But the one really cool thing that is a feature of FS2 is it's not just about choosing where units are, it's about choosing patrol routes. Because if you get attacked and you're unaware of the attacker, then the attacker gets to move his units until one of your in-game units actually sees him. So kind of like a power user advanced level thing, again, especially in City multiplayer, is making sure that you've got proper coverage of everywhere, so you get to respond to a surprise attack as quickly as possible. I actually think that's a really cool feature. Let me know what you think. At the moment, you can set up on the roads and do your patrols on the roads as well as inside the base. That's something that's going to require balancing. And eagle-eyed watchers will ask what the deal with the cars are, because obviously the cars, you wouldn't expect them to be in exactly the same positions if you were attacked in half an hour from now and you just set up your deployments like this. Well, I would expect the cars to be in different positions. I mean, anything's in play. It is a computer game. We are planning on moving the cars to look a bit more like they've just parked, and the people maybe have got out because there's some firing going on, or you know, basically we're not going to have moving vehicles in this game, so we have to make it look a little less dissonant. But obviously having cars on the roads is a big deal, so we want to do that. But yeah, this is a really important feature, and I will show you another aspect of it right now. So now let's look at setting up a deployment outside your home base. So let's say we want to go to this intersection, which apparently is Playstar and Racket Zalkotl. Again, these street names are currently just the names of Frozen Cortex players that were sent in by beta buyers, which is why they're all a bit strange, but it's quite fun. So we have our strike team going there, and the game pauses when they get there. And now we right click on here, and we can set up deployment here because we have a strike team there. So again, getting the balance of this kind of thing is really important to get that right. You know, you don't want this to be a requirement anytime you send a squad anywhere that you have to do this, because sometimes you're not going to feel like it. But it's really, really, really important to have that kind of depth. So if you want it, it's there. So right, so if you want to set up a checkpoint here, which is something that you do in Frozen Synapse 2 a lot, like controlling a really important intersection like this one with 5 different roads coming out of it, is something that you want to do a lot, because it allows you to control the flow of squads around the city. And when a big part of the game is getting to the incursions first, that's really super important. Controlling the roadways in the city is a really big part of the game. So yeah, it's something we're doing a lot, and obviously you, intelligent Frozen Synapse player, are not going to just want to sit around in your vehicle or in your checkpoint. You're going to want to set your guys up in good situations. Now, again, the looming spectre of what we do with the cars exactly comes up here, and this is a very limited mission. But even if it's just around your vehicle, it's something people are going to want to do. They're going to want to have setups that they like to get them in the best situation early on. You know, a feature that I want to put in is that when you actually set up a checkpoint, which changes your vehicle from being a vehicle to being like a checkpoint, like a building, is to actually allow you to edit what the building looks like as well. That's an advanced feature. I don't know when exactly I'll get to that. That's the kind of thing I want to do. So there you go. This is setup deployments. This is a feature that I've wanted in the game for a long time, and it's really good. And I hope it spurs your inspiration, viewers. And please give me any ideas or feedback that you can. Okay, now I'm going to talk a bit about conversations in Frozen Synapse 2, diplomacy and chatting with the other artificial intelligence faction leaders. Now, this stuff is very much ongoing right now. Not even sure if this is all going to work, but it's something that both me and our lead writer, Alex Malakian Hayes, are working on a lot right now. It's an exciting feature, and it's just good to show you guys this stuff early. So, now this building over here is owned by Guest, who are... they're fairly bad guys actually in the game. So if I load up the faction list and I scroll down to find Guest, who is apparently led by someone called Brianna Bartleby, I don't know if that is current. And if we call them up now, I've said it in the past, but I will say it 100 times again. The faction interactions and conversations are very much based on Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is an amazing game, and I loved how the other faction leaders felt like characters. It is one of the major inspirations for this game, along with XCOM Apocalypse and obviously Frozen Synapse 1. And that's what we're going for. Alpha Centauri used a really nice system to get really reactive text in. We've got something similar, something a bit more advanced. Hope it works really well. So basically, as you can see, we have one of Rich's lovely avatars for Miss Brianna Bartleby. All of the faction leaders will have a mood towards you. She is currently irritated. And that will impact their decision making and exactly how they talk to you, the tone of the voice that they used. Now, we only have one tone in right now. There'll be a landslide of writing for Alex to do in the next couple of months. Anyway, I'm just going to keep going. Right, so, well, you know, you guys are watching their video, so I'll show you how the sausage is made. We want the factions to feel very different when you talk to them, and we want them to feel reactive. So, obviously, when someone's having a conversation with you, the first time they talk to you, they're going to talk to you about their faction history. Now, a lot of the chats in this game use variables for certain bits. So, for instance, one of the lasting memories of Alpha Centauri is that one of the factions, the Gaians, whenever another faction wanted to be rude about the Gaians, basically just said, "I'm sure they're dancing naked in the trees." Basically, there were special variables that allowed factions to insult each other in colourful ways. We call that the dollar system, just because everything was a dollar in Alpha Centauri, and it's a dollar here as well in some ways, although this is a percentage. Anyway, so this will be replaced with specifically the history that Miss Brianna Bartleby wants to tell you the first time she meets you. That's pretty obvious. Now, this is all sort of fairly normal. As she's one of the first... Well, she's the first competing faction member that you've called up. She's going to say, should we sign a treaty? If you sign a treaty with her, it gives you access to her basic missions. So I will say yes, absolutely. And she's pleased about that. And then she says goodbye. So that's a good start. Again, I've shown this before, but if you go to the contract screen... Oh, hold on, that's not going to work. Advance time a little bit. We seem to have broken the contract screen. Fantastic. Never mind about that. Anyway, I'm slightly hoping that I can show something else right now. Now, one of the big features that I've put into the conversations is that they will talk about recent events in the game. They'll talk about what they've recently done to you, what you've recently done to them, what other factions have done to each other. I'm probably not doing a great job of displaying this stuff right now because it's still so much in progress, but I just want to talk about it anyway. So if I go and attack Guest, send them over to one of Guest's buildings, we give order, we're going to interact, we're going to attack them. Now, I'm not going to actually play this mission, I'm going to simulate it and say that the defenders win. So, there you go. Now, if I call Miss Bartleby back up, now, she may do what she's supposed to do, she may not. You see, she's frustrated. She's more annoyed with me, but we've got the basic hello, which is not good. There you go. Do you realise this impetuous aggression is making you a target? If you invade guest property again, you better hope that you get the job done. Now, I understand that this so far is very normal for a grand strategy game like this. I attacked her and she said something about it. And that's all very good. Now, this is the bit I really hope works. If I call up someone else entirely, if I call up Blue Sunlight, she says hello and gives her history, and she also wants to sign a thing. Right, there we go. And this has worked, which is amazing. So whenever you call up another faction, they will try and gossip about stuff that you've done to each other or stuff that happened with other people. So this is Blue Sunlight talking about the fact that I just attacked Guest. Trying to take on the Guest nest from user was optimistic. Perhaps you should start smaller. Capture a hutch and progress in there if you can. Wow, that's a fairly good joke. Anyway, so this makes all of the factions feel more alive, and was really, really important to me that when you call up one of the other factions, it feels like you're conversing with a character. You don't know what they're going to say. And this is all fairly basic so far. Obviously, Denizen Valet is going to talk to me differently depending on whether she likes or doesn't like Guest. And all that stuff is very much in hand, but currently being made. So, as always, definitely give me your feedback on that, because that system is still somewhat in development. But that's an important part of the game. Now, finally, before we get onto the mailbag, I just wanted to show you some of the level work I've been doing. As we're leading up to the closed beta, fingers crossed at the end of February, a lot of work being done now is cleaning up. And while that is also sort of the most irritating work in that I'm fixing bugs that are really, really hard to get to and have stood for like over a year, it does also mean that you're starting to see the biggest change in the quality of the game, because everything is sort of basically working and a bit of extra work can make it really excellent. So if we go and do a test mission at this building, this is the building that we went to earlier on in the video to show the transition. But gives a good idea of what a mission looks like and some of the tidying up work that I've been doing on the mission areas themselves. Again, long-time viewers of the videos will have seen the mission areas in lots of different states, and we are, like I say, starting to clean them up. The camera is now locked to the mission area, and that means that you don't sort of see the mess outside the mission area at all, which makes everything look a lot cleaner. Here, as I'm demonstrating with my cursor, is the actual building that we are attacking. It's got some units going around in it. These units will be red soon. Paul has dictated that we must have enemies being red, and even if they're unaware, they have to be shown that they're unaware in a different way than the colour. As we can see, it wouldn't be an FS2 dev video without a really bad piece of generation. Look, these cars are inside this building. But I'm actually quite pleased with how this... This is a motel, in fact, how this motel looks. I think that's really nice. We've got a lot of mess here. We've got too many lights. This bit of parkland's nice. The pavement zones only have one generator so far. But this is, I mean, for me, this is starting to look quite clean and quite nice. Obviously, you've got your guys on the road. This is the kind of mission area size I'm looking at as well. A decent bit of ground to make you feel like you're having a mission in a large part of the level. Obviously, you know, you're unlikely to send anyone over here. Maybe you would send a sniper over there. That kind of thing. So I am in progress on cleaning up all of the rough edges that we've got, sorting out problems like we have here, getting rid of having too many lights. I'm reasonably happy with the way the level generation is for the closed beta. I mean, there's not enough variation in the game, and that needs to be addressed. That's going to be addressed after the closed beta. We need to get big things like the airport, other specific buildings that feel very different in, so that the game doesn't feel too similar. I mean, you know, we've got a couple of properly designed buildings in here. This motel looks great. This is pretty good, but you know, there's always places to go. And again, as always, tell me what you guys think about this. Now, we've talked about different floors a lot on the development video in the past, having like the upstairs of buildings is kind of important. And I've sort of had various different ideas of how to approach that. The one that I want to do currently is, if this is the main mission building, you'll only have other floors available for the main mission building. I kind of would like over to the right, with my hand, I'm waving over here, to the right of the valid mission area, to have 2 or 3 other floors that would just be this shape. They'd be hanging around in space over there, but there would be like an elevator that you could get up there or get down from there. Basically give you access to other floors, make sure you feel the height of the city. There are lots of issues with that, but it's also kind of important. So that's just something I'm thinking about. Tell me what you think about that as well. So thank you for listening, and we will get on to the mailbag. Okay, so it's the mailbag, and I've already broken the screen. There we go. I shouldn't press the record button with the YouTube page up. Okay, I think I fixed it. Right, let's start off with Mr. Meyer7, who pleases me greatly with the question of what if you had multiplayer on the city level? Well, we do. And you and up to 7 friends can play, take on a faction, and do everything that a single player can do on the city level. And I'm still extremely excited about it. I've still got some bugs to fix, but it's actually working pretty well. And I think it's going to be an excellent feature. Zaxky asks if the IRC chat is still in. Yes, it is. Let me click on it and see if it works right now. Oh, it does. Every one of the games that we've released has had an IRC client, and that's not changing with this game. Pandora's Luckbox says, what aspect of the game have you found most difficult to design thus far? That's a really interesting question. I mean, it took me quite a long time to get to the clear game idea that is presented now. I had a lot of early on ideas with some things where you had agents moving around the city and sort of going to specific buildings to do specific things, which was quite separate to this. I think it really took on its full form when I realized we needed to have a driving force, such as the alien attacks in XCOM and XCOM Apocalypse, and then pairing that with the Brandon Sanderson style competition between you and the other factions for these attacks. That's when it sort of really took form. In terms of smaller things that have been hard to design, I mean, moving from Synapse 1's levels where your units were more randomly thrown across the level at the level start, and that was always really important to FS1, moving from that to a slightly more traditional thing where, you know, if your squad's arriving in a vehicle, they're going to be in that vehicle, and making the levels work like that has been quite a big deal. In fact, just to answer that question, well, not answer that question, to continue my thought, making that specific work just took a lot of work to make that good, because FS in general is about situations being really exciting right from the beginning. Well, it's taking a long time to load this level. I must have done something very crazy in it. Basically, you need to get to the action straight away. I just cannot deal with games that take 4 turns before anything interesting has happened. Oh, you're letting me down, Frozen Synapse 2. Come on. Here we go. Okay, well, apparently the forests take a long time to load. So basically, here are my guys, and the important sort of thing that I managed to get this working was that you were able to deploy along any of the roads when you were attacking. So that gives you the ability. I don't know if you can go there. No, you can't, but I can probably go there. That gives you the ability to really cut off the boring start of the mission, and you're getting in right away. And a reminder that a lot of the missions, the offensive missions that you do, start off with the enemy not being aware of your presence. And the first stage of a lot of these missions is trying to get into a really good position and then attacking all at once, because these guys will continue on their patrol routes until they see one of your guys. But that's something I've described at length in a different video. And I don't actually know how to answer this question. What aspect is the most difficult to design? A lot of it's taken a lot of work. I guess the level generation has given me the most pain. I mean, making games is just a very long and long-winded process, just like the answer to this question. Now, let me just check I'm recording. Yes, I am good. Now, the Beefiest has come back. Very, very important member of the FS1 community, and he's saying it's just because he was unemployed at the time. You were still pretty good, man. And he's bemoaning that there aren't more games that are more like Frozen Synapse. I don't bemoan that, but the Beefiest can. And we have a couple of suggestions. So yes, Super Sim suggests Laser Squad Nemesis, which was one of the original inspirations for Frozen Synapse, and I certainly would also recommend that. And Blivy says that Starhammer and Concealed Intent are both quite interesting. I have not even heard of either of those games, I don't think. Super Sim also is congratulating me of not spending too long on ranking systems. Thank you, Super Sim. Always nice to have positive reinforcement. Aaron says, what? The closed beta went live. Why did I miss it? And don't worry, I only haven't missed it. It goes live at the end of February. Again, if you guys want to get in on the closed beta, send me an email, ian@mode7games.com, and I will respond. Now, I did something different this week. I also asked for questions on Twitter. And one person gave me a question. Bapioka Tools says, will it be everything I'd ever hoped and dreamed Frozen Synapse 2? I hope so. I certainly hope so. What a great time to finish. Thank you very much for listening to me talk. Please keep watching and sharing and commenting on my videos. We're getting closer, people, I promise. And I think this game is looking pretty awesome. So I will see you next week.